All right, what we're going to talk about today is building an install schedule and how this came about. Was talking to a couple of first-year offensive coordinators, and they were asking about their install schedule and how they should install their offense. Now, before we get started, make sure you click like and for this video, and then hit subscribe for the channel. My name is James Vint from Lubbock, Texas. Uh, on X at Coach Vint. I've got a blog, I've got some stuff on CoachTube, all that good stuff. But the conversation started out with these two wanting to ask about how they should build their install. One of them said, I'm going to start off and spend the first week, we're going to get all of our formations installed. And I said, your players are going to quit first because you're going to have to get some football in there. It's great that you're going to get those formations installed, and you should definitely have a formation period in your practice. But let's talk a little bit about how you want to formulate your install schedule. So as we go through this, first I want to so I'm going to show you some resources today. These come from these just two things we're going to look at today: an install schedule and a play menu. These come from a game and practice planning resource that I have for offense coordinators. You can use that QR code. These are fully editable and customizable. It has everything that that I use as an offense coordinator. Two-sided color call sheet, 11 by 17, already formatted. Practice plans, for each day of the week, practice scripts for each day of the week, scouting report template. These things are all formatted so you can just start using them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel or build them yourselves. And that, again, there's the QR code, and I'll put a link down in the description. So we're talking today to offensive coordinators. Some DCs probably can get some stuff out of this too. And I was a defensive coordinator during my career as well, but we'll save that for another day. Current offense coordinators might pull some things out of here that they can use to be a little bit more efficient with their install. First time offense coordinators definitely want to watch this. And if you aspire to be an offense coordinator, I'm going to tell you something. If you're coaching, you're in your first, second, third year as a coach, fourth year as a coach, fifth year, whatever year, and you're coaching middle school football, and you want to be a varsity coordinator, or you want to be a college coordinator someday. Maybe you're a freshman coach where you're calling plays at some level. Don't wait till you're a varsity coordinator or a college coordinator to start doing this. If I'm at the college level, when I was a college offense coordinator, and we would have our scout bowl every Friday, all of our red shirts and walk on scout team guys would compete. They'd compete and we'd play a quarter or a half, and our GAs would call it. And I'd say, you need to have a call sheet just like you would if you were, calling it on Saturday afternoon on ABC. So no matter what level of football you're at, you need to start practicing doing these things. One of the greatest things that made me proud was I go out to one of our middle school games several years back, and our middle school coach's seventh grade B team middle school coach has a call sheet out there. And that was great to see freshman coaches with the call sheet, JV coaches using a call sheet. I love to see that because that's getting you prepared for when you get that role. You're already ready. You have to be before you can become. Uh, when we talk about what is an install schedule, this is the plan for how you are going to install your offense. You have to have some sort of a plan. So we're going to look at what we're going to install. What order should we install it? When are we going to install it? And then how do we do this? So we talk about when to install. You're going to have a spring install. You're going to have a summer install. You're going to have your fall camp install. And then by the end of your fall camp, I always said we're probably going to have 85 to 90% of our offense installed because uh, in most places, you're going to play some non-district or non-conference games that maybe don't have any playoff implications whatsoever. Down in Texas, depending on the size of your district, it could be one non-district game. It could be, 5 or 6 non-district games if you're in a smaller district. During those non-district games, we're going to get really good at our base offense. And we're probably going to have a few things that we're going to put in, we're going to install just for district. And then when we get into the playoffs, we're probably going to have a little bit more that maybe we didn't put in during the season. During the spring install, we're really going to focus on our identity and teaching our processes, standards, and systems, and holding guys accountable and building that culture. Summer install is really the precursor to our fall camp. We want to start getting things really in, getting our formations in, getting our motions in, getting our cadences in, our tempos and things like that, so that when we roll into fall camp, we can hit the ground running. Now, a big question is, how do you install? And there's a lot of ways to do this. Some guys are going to install one play, one concept until it's perfect. And you won't install anything else until it's perfect. Some guys you're going to talk to are going to say, we're going to put our whole offense in 3 days. And then we're going to do that again and again and again. If you have 15 preseason practices, you're going to install your offense 5 times. All right. Some people are going to do something in between there. When I started off, we did one run, one pass, two formations, one motion. That was what we did day one. All right. Day two, if we didn't feel good about it, we'd repeat day one. It might take us 5 days to get to that day two. Here's the biggest thing. There's no wrong way. What fits your guys? I've had so I tried I was kind of, like I said, kind of a more of a, we're going to get good at this and then progress. And we weren't perfect at it because we wanted to get, our entire offense in. We could have been sticklers and just stuck on that one thing, and that's all we would have had. But then I met someone, and again, I was real young as an OC at this time, at a college coach, said, we install it on, 3 days. Tried that. And I wasn't comfortable with it. So we ended up going to really a 5-day install that we repeated and then repeated again. And that worked relatively well. Now, what we really do is we have some tags and complements and things like that. But our base offense is going to be in about 6 days. That's when our base is really in. And then we start kind of building out. We reinstall that base, and we'll get really 2 times through the base, gradually adding all of our tags. Find what works best for you. We've had some teams where it took us 12 days to do what other teams did in 6. We've had some teams that could do what most of our teams are doing 6, that they did it in 3. Whatever works for you, there's no wrong way. Just because it works one way for someone else doesn't mean you have to do it that way. All right, find what works best for you. Now, what are we going to install? This is where, as an offensive coordinator, you have got to have a philosophy. What is my philosophy as a coordinator? And then from there, what is our identity? Our identity concept. All right. When we talk about identity, I'm talking about identity concept. It is that hat rack concept. It's that thing that we're going to keep coming back to. That people have to stop this. For us, it's either power or inside zone. That's typically what it's been. Back in the, early part of my career, we were option based. Everybody knew you had to stop midline. That was the first deal. A good friend of mine's a wing T coach in Georgia. You better stop buck trap. If you can stop fullback on trap, you have a chance to compete with them. All right. So what is your philosophy? All right. Now, for me, our philosophy is you've got to run the ball to win it all. We're going to be a physical, downhill football team that's going to attack. We're going to use pre-snap and post-snap RPOs to attack all 53 yards of width and force the defense to defend all 6 skill guys every single snap. And we know we've got to run the ball. We're not going to beat our head against the wall. If you're going to load the box, we're going to take advantage of the perimeter. If you start adding secondary guys, we're going to start hitting you over the top. And we want to take shots. I think you got to take some shots and score and have some opportunities to create chunk plays. You have to decide, what do you want your offense to look like? We're going to run the football, but we're going to take shots. We're going to create explosive opportunities. And then you need to begin with the end in mind. Before you start building your install plan, you need to list out what is everything that you want to install. What do you want to include in your offense? And then we're going to start building the plan. So it starts with the menu. This is where we're going to list all of those things that we're going to do. We're going to go down and list every single thing that we are going to install. And then once we have all of that on paper, we're going to start building our schedule. All right. So we're going to, what formations are we going to install each day? What run concepts? What pass concepts? What protections? All the good stuff. And this is what that looks like. So now we get to our install schedule. And by the way, within that game planning resource that I have linked down in the description, and that I had the QR code for at the beginning of this, you can get all these documents, including call sheet, everything, using that QR code. Now, what we are going to do, so let's say August 1st, first day of practice, we're going to list that first, and let me just do this. I'm going to pull this up. All right, let's go to our install. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. All right. What I've done here is I've already written a few of these things in. All right, so let's say we're going to come out and we're gonna go 11 personnel. All right, in our formations, we're gonna rip Liz, early, late, whatever yours are. All right, here's our backfield sets, our motions. What we would do is we'd come out day one, our before day one, before we start practicing our first meetings, and we're going to list out what our offense is going to look like. All right, so we're going to list all these formations and personnel groups. We're going to go through and list all our plays, our run concepts, our tags, play action off the run, RPO concepts, the complements. Okay, so for example, we were a midline team. We ran a lot of midline. We had complementary plays to take advantage of defensive answers to midline. So if the outside linebacker was falling in on quarterback, we're going to run, mid triple. If the backside inside linebacker's working over the top to take the dive, we can't get the combo to him, we're going to run, follow opposite with the quarterback. And then we're going to list those complements. We're going to list our trick plays, and then situations we're going to install. 2-minute drill, 4-minute drill, all that. And we're going to get down to our pass concepts and screens. All right. Now, once we get that done, we're going to go to our install schedule. So let's say day one, we base out of 11 personnel. That means one running back, one tight end. And we're going to come out and we're going to go rip, Liz, early, late. Okay. Those early and late are trip snub formations, rip and Liz are pro twins. And backfield set, we're going to go pistol. And let's go Ringo, Lucky. All right. Now I can always go. Yeah, we need to make that a little bigger. I can make the print smaller, whatever we need to do. All right. What motions are we going to run? Well, let's go with our H across. Let's go Z across. Let's do our across motions. All right. That's all we're going to work the first day. And I'm going to go ahead and say on the second day, we're going to work H back. All right. Now, run, inside, zone, read. All right. Any post-snap RPOs? Probably not day one, but we're going to run our bubble, now, and dose, pre-snap RPOs. And then we always put 4 verticals and hitch. This is always our day one concepts. All right. Our protections, well, for bubble, now, and dose, those are off of run concepts. We're going to go with our 5-man vert set. Okay, that's our base 5-man protection. And situational drills, we're going to go our tempo drill. All right. And then we are going to go coming out. Okay, so we'll start with those. And coming out is a situation we're going to work where we're backed up inside of our own 5-yard line, coming out of the end zone. All right. And then we build day 2, day 3. This will be completely filled out before practice starts. Okay, I want you to understand that. This is not something where we go, okay, let's do day 1 and then we practice and then, okay, let's get tomorrow's install. No, we have this mapped out before we ever start practice. I want you to understand that is important. You need to have that plan. All right. Now, once we get our install built, we're going to plan our practices. All right. Now I'm going to do another video. So this doesn't get too long. We'll talk about practice planning. All right. How we build our practice. Once we get this installed down, all right, we'll start building our practice plans for fall camp. All right. Now, once we get into the season, we build our practice plans. So when we come in and game plan and we get all of our weekend stuff done, that's one of the things that we're doing on Sunday afternoon and evening or Saturday afternoon and evening, depending, on how you do it. Some people do it Monday morning, but we're going to get our practice plans all built out for the week. But when we come into fall camp, we come in, let's say we have day one gets done. We have good day one. All right. And then we look at day two. We go into day two, we get day two done. Day two isn't very good. All right. Our kids are confused. Maybe we tried to do a little too much. What do? Repeat day two. Maybe we have a review day. All right. What I'm telling you is we have our plan and then we adjust, we adapt. All right. Now we want to make sure our install schedule is logical. All right. So we want to build on things, start with that identity concept, build on something we installed from day one to day two to day three, etc. And if a skill fits multiple concepts, we're going to teach it early. For example, within our philosophy, we use pre-snap RPOs. These are paired pass concepts. So when we call a run, there's always at least one pass called also, and we're going to take space so we're not running into beating our head against the wall against the loaded box. Now, we install this by rules. So day one, we're going to install those pre-snap RPO rules. And then each time we install a new run, those rules are already built in. So now we can start adding the tags that might go with them. Now, as we teach our system, how do we teach? Whatever system you run, I firmly believe you got to get on the board and you got to chalk it and you got to have players write stuff down. Then you got to walk it. You walk through. Really, it's really a run through, but we'll use the term chalk it, walk it, then we're going to run it. And this is within our structural practice. We're going to run it, then we're going to correct it. All right. After we correct it, we're going to rerun it. Now, we do our install. We start off coaches meetings. So we're going to have our preseason meetings where we build all of our, our install plan and our menu and depth charts and all that logistic stuff. Then we come in day one, we have a coaches meeting to start the day, and then the players come in. Players come in, they get taped, they get ready, and then we have our players meeting, our individual meetings. All right. We'll actually have a team meeting, special teams meeting. Then we have our individual meetings for offense. All right. So they go with their position coach. Then we go pre-practice. So we go out to the field and we have a practice before practice starts. And it's usually a 10 to 15 minute period because some guys get out of the locker room faster. And we're going to work some of those, warm up great skills. And then the last 5 minutes of that, we're going to have a little run through period. Then we get into practice. Depending on how our day is, we're going to have individual, always going to have individual. Our individual periods, we're learning the skills it takes to execute the concepts that we're installing. Then we're going to have our group periods. Now we're running those concepts as a group, quarterbacks, receivers together. This might be run mesh, might be an RPO drill, might be 7-on-7, might be inside run. All right. And then we're going to have our team period or team periods. And then we're going to have a correction period. All right. Where we're going to go through some of those corrections. And I'm just going to show you here a sample practice schedule for a day and not a practice schedule. This is an itinerary. All right. And this is a camp day. So coaches come in, they report at 8, they meet at 8:30. Then we have offensive, defensive coaches meeting, players come in, they're getting dressed. Then we have team meetings, special teams meeting, offensive, defensive meetings, and then we go out to the field for pre-practice. Then we have practice starting, practice ending, and we have cold tubs and lunch. Players get a break, coaches get a break, players go to treatment. Then we have this is where they'll get any nagging injuries, they'll get taped, things like that. And then we have offensive, defensive meetings, pre-practice, and then we start our second practice. That practice ends. It's usually a little shorter. Cold tub snack, coaches meet, everybody goes home. And then I'll just give you a visual of what a practice plan would look like. All right, this is what one of our practice days looks like. All right, and I'll show you how we fill all this in. but we script every period, we script everything. That gives you kind of an idea of that, of how the actual teaching of the install takes place. Of course, right now we're just talking about building that install schedule, but I think showing you those other things helps you get a visualization. Let's talk about troubleshooting. It's okay to build in a review day. So we do this some years where if we have maybe a little younger team, less experienced quarterback, we'll say, okay, here's our day one, here's our day two, day three, we're going to review day one and two. Might go 3 days to make day four a review day. We might not have that review day and then say, hey, we need a review day. We'll push everything back, add a review day. We may have a review day built in. We get through practice, we meet as coach, we say, I don't think we really need the review day. Then we'll take it out. All right. You can always push things back if your guys are confused. You can move things forward if they're picking it up quickly. But the biggest mistake we make as offense coordinators all across the country at every level of football is you try to do too much, too fast, and we frustrate our players and we frustrate our coaches. All right. We want our players to be excited to learn football. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of really good little pointers here. When we bring them in, there it is. When we bring them in for meetings, the coach is going to draw, players are going to draw. Then we're going to ask the players to demonstrate learning. All right, little formative assessment right there. Their summative assessment's going to come when we get out on the field and we're in live competition. They're formative. We're constantly assessing them. We're asking, not do you get it? Do you understand? Show me what you're supposed to do. If you get this, the safety doing this, what should you do? We're going to have them draw this covered shell. What route do you run? Draw your route. How many yards is that? How many steps is that? And we have a rule with that we got this from Chip Kelly and a great book called Teach Like a Champion, but there's no opt-out. If I ask a player to tell me what they're supposed to do and they don't tell me, I'm going to ask the next player. They're going to tell me, and then I'm going to go back and make the other one answer it. And you've got to be more stubborn than your stubbornest guy. So that's what I want you to understand is as we do this and we ask those questions, we're constantly asking for feedback. If they haven't learned it just because you've taught it, you'll know they've learned it when they can teach it back to you. That's when they've learned it. And that's when you're going to get guys to play fast. And this is important because when you get into a game, one of the biggest reasons that drives fail, that teams don't score, are busted plays. Everybody watching this goes, yep, we've had a lot of drives where someone runs the wrong route, lineman steps with the wrong foot. And a lot of the time, 95% of the time, that's avoidable. It's avoidable through how we teach and how we coach. And we want to make sure that they have an understanding, or they're still going to make mistakes. But what we want to do is reduce those mistakes to the lowest level possible and raise their level of play to the highest level possible. All right. So I hope you've gotten some things out of this. I'm going to put a few of these other videos out to help some of you OCs. But again, this came about talking to some young offense coordinators. Game planning resource, use this QR code or use the link down below. And if you're interested in RPOs and some other things, I've got a couple of videos on CoachTube. I've got some new stuff that's going to be coming out. But I'd highly recommend checking those out as well. And look forward to doing anything I can to help any of you be more successful. And again, you can find me on Twitter. All right, on Twitter, where are we at? There we are, at Coach Vint. Check my blog out. And I wish you all the best as you prepare for your season.